Welcome to another video dealing with the morphology of the flowering plants. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of a flower, and the gynoecium is consisting of a structure which is known as carpel or pistil. We use both the terms for the female reproductive system of a flower. Now, when we study the structure of a carpel is made up of three parts: the stigma, the style, and the ovary. We will begin from the top, coming to the bottom. Stigma is the outermost exposed part of a flower, and it is sticky. So if we see the structure of a flower, a typical flower, it will have the stigma exposed. This is the stigma, and the stigma is sticky because it helps in the attachment of the pollinators. When the pollinators visit, it is sticky so that the pollen grains which are stuck to their legs can be transferred onto the stigma for the pollination. And it is the receptive surface for the pollen grains. There are certain kind of chemical reactions that happen that we'll be studying later on, but it is a receptive surface for the pollen grains. The next part, that is the stigma, leads to the style. The style is a long, narrow tube. It is a long, narrow tube over here, and it leads to the ovary. So it connects, the style connects stigma and the ovary, and when the pollen grains land onto the stigma, they develop a pollen tube which passes through this style and reaches to the lower portion, that is the ovules, where they are present in the ovary. So the style is the connection between the stigma and the ovary. The basal swollen part over here is the ovary. So ovary is swollen portion over here. This is the ovary, which is the swollen portion, and it contains ovules which are attached to the placenta. So the female reproductive system of a flower consists of the carpels or the pistil, and they can be monocarpellary or multicarpellary depending upon the number of the carpels, and these carpels have a basic structure consisting of stigma, style, and the ovary. Now the ovary has ovules, and these ovules are attached to placenta, and the placenta helps in providing the nutrition. So there can be various kinds of attachment of placenta, and we call the arrangement of ovules in the ovary as placentation. So placentation is actually that how the ovules are arranged within the ovary, and we find various kinds of placentation in the case of plants. So let us study about few types of placentation. The first type is the marginal type of placentation. Now over here, this marginal placentation, it is commonly seen in the pea. Marginal placentation is actually a placentation in which the ovules, and if we see to the structure of the ovules, this rounded structure is the ovule, and this is the placenta. So as you can see over here, in the case of marginal placentation, the ovules are attached to the margin, that is known as ventral suture, and the side of a pea where it is opening flap-like or book-like, the joint is the ventral suture, and the dorsal suture is the other end. So here you can find the ovules attached to the placenta. Example is pea, and since it is attached at the margins That is why it is known as marginal placentation. The second type is known as axial placentation. The axial placentation, this outermost wall which is seen over here is the wall of the ovary. So the outermost is the wall of the ovary, and inside we can see the chambers, which I am making slightly dark over here. If I draw the line, fill it up. So this is a locule, and within the locule are present the ovules. Locule is actually a small chamber and it consists of ovules. So over here in the axial placentation, we find that there are 3 locules, and the attachment, this center point over here is the central axis. This, I am marking it as green, I am using a different color over here. So this part is the central axis, and to the central axis, the ovules are attached in a circle-like manner. So the ovules over here are attached and to the placenta with the help of placenta to the central axis, and it consists of 3 locules. So the locules are actually the small chambers where the ovules will be present. We see such type of arrangement in the case of China rose. The third type is known as the parietal type, and this parietal type of placentation is one in which there is only 1 locule. So this big chamber which is seen over here in round is the locule. This is the locule, and the ovules are attached over here. The pair of locules are attached over here, and they are present towards the end and facing towards the locule. So these ovules are present over here. So this kind of arrangement is fine in the case of mustard plant. Then we have the free central type, in which it is only 1 chamber, that is only 1 locule, but it has a central axis to which the ovules are attached with the help of placenta, and it is found in the prime rose. Another type is basal type, and this basal type of placentation is a typical one where it is inverted type, and you can see the ovule over here and the locule over here. So we find that different types of placentation, basically 5 different types of placentation, that is the marginal, axial, parietal, free central and the basal type, that help in the attachment of the ovules to the ovary. And these ovules are actually the site where the fertilization will happen. So the ovules will change the seed, and the ovary will form the fruit after the process of fertilization. So this entire structure forms the female reproductive part.